Some of these worship music and songs have such profound things. Lord, I'll give my whole life to you. Lord, I'll lay my life down. It's almost Philip in the natural can't do that. And as I started meditating on this, I started realizing that the only way that I can tell God that I love him so much and that I'm crazy about him is first to know that he loved me. And that's why it's time for you to say enough and say, I want to pause in my tracks and I want to do an audit of everything I do. Even if you're serving, preaching, worship leading, or whatever it may be, it's good to stop and say, why am I doing this?
I'm really excited for this word that Philip's going to bring. Hope you guys are stoked. Sometimes I wonder, every time I open for Philip, I'm thinking, you know, like Ezra has Karen and Ro has Tash and and then Philip has me, you know, opening for him every time. But it's gonna be epic. It's gonna be awesome. So guys, please stand to your feet and welcome Philip with the word.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Eric took the words out of my mouth because I was going to open by saying God has a nasty sense of humor. I asked for a blonde to open for me, and God gave me Eric. But he got burned up on me on that one. But that's cool, you know. Anyway, guys, you know, give me the opportunity to be honest and transparent, right? Because really, I think WOWLife Church is all about, you know, not being, you know, pretentious or fake or trying to look super spiritual, you know. When I walked in, actually, I felt like there's a cool joke about Vasudevan Anakara when he walks into a meeting. You know, there's only like 3 people seated there. That's his, not even his wife, his driver, his maid, and the lottery seller from Nugegoda, right? And I walked, I saw, okay, about like 10 people, right? And then I was wondering, okay, where are my usual rocking friends? Because I was going to strike them off the list. I need to make sure all of them are here, right? But anyway, guys, you know, I just want to share my heart when I start about WOW as well as what it is also to be a preacher up here, you know, and how we mature as preachers when we come up here and why we do it. Because it's important for you to understand when you come here, where we come from and why we do what we do. Right? And I think I can confidently vouch for all of these preachers who are here tonight, right? We come with a great passion and a yearning to share a revelation of what God has been in our life, right? That's the whole motive. I mean, I can definitely say, or even Eric for that matter, or any one of these guys, Ro, right? All of them, if you told them, could they be doing something better? Or the time they spend, actually, I wish Eric was praying because I think, preaching, because I think he has spent more time meditating than I did for the opening of the service, right? But, you know, all the time that people invest into this it's not a personal glory thing, right? So it's important because I know that at the beginning, as a preacher for me, it was important to come and see, like, how many people were here, right? And that affected you, right? And then as you mature, and at that time, you're like, you know, well, for my meeting, there were only like 5 rows, and Jackie has 7 rows. You know, how come? And then, you know, you try to send messages out and get your friends to come and all of that. Like, it's like a bit like a political rally. You don't fill up the seats, right? And you mature from that, you know. You mature from that, and then you come to a place of knowing who you are, and you're confident of what you're sharing, right? It's a message that whether you share it with 5 or 10, and then you come to that confidence level. And then, of course, you know, Kirby says this as well. I mean, all preachers, and I was so relieved when Kirby said it as well, is that when we finish preaching, you feel so empty in a way. There's like a dullness and an emptiness, like you feel like, oh my goodness, what did I say or what did I do? And, you know, it's like, Kirby has a nice name for it. He calls it preachers something. Right? And I also feel this all the time. I say, oh, never again. You know, I don't want to do this. It's like too much. It's too draining or whatever. And I realized that also I was putting too much work and too much effort. And, you know, so I tried different models, you know, first fasting and all of that, you know. And then, like, yeah, I knew that, like, when I was praying, like, it was my bad breath was knocking people down. It was not the Holy Spirit. And then I realized that, okay, then let me try, like, Okay, then actually, I actually cursed Kirby also to do this, right? I said, okay, I'm going to really eat well and come, right? And then like I was burping all through the sermon, right? And then one day I told Kirby, so Kirby said, Philip, when I go into the realm to have dreams, I am mostly very light meal I have. So I said, Kirby, I'm challenging you. You need to have like a heavy meal, right? Eat like a really heavy meal and go. And we were, I think, at a conference, if I'm not mistaken, at his house. And he came down the next morning and said, I didn't have a single dream. Right? I said, you need to try this model. I'm sure it works. So I'm just relating, guys, to like, we are also evolving, right? When the preachers come up here, we are evolving, right? And one of the things that I don't want to be under pressure here is I don't want to be a Ro. I don't want to be a Jackie. I can't be a Raj. I want to be Philip when I come up here. I want to share my experiences, right? I don't want to try to pretend to be somebody else, right? And that's why, for me, maybe I've had the misfortune or the fortune to grow up in a church environment from the time you're a kid, right? So there's constantly a pressure on you to be someone, right? Like, there was a constant pressure. I think like I was like 9.5 years old or something, and my dad had died, and they were like burying him, and like this horrible auntie comes along and like does this to your head and says, Puta, you're going to be the next preacher. I said, auntie, like at that age you want to like show her a couple of fingers, and like, so from that age you're under pressure to conform and to be something, right? And WOWLife, guys, I like what Eric said as well, and Raj said during the seed time as well, because WOWLife Church, there's one thing significant, the churchdom, right? And guys, I don't want a single person here to be offended by anything I say, because I absolutely honor the church, I love the church, I value the church, but I need to call out a spirit that comes upon. It's almost like a mafiosi spirit that comes on. Right? And we need to call that out, because what happens in the whole church term structure is that, you're under so much pressure to be somebody you are not. And then it's this whole thing of coming to church or coming to wherever you go to worship, you're coming to look at one man to give you a solution, right? And they love that structure. The pastor loves that structure, because as long as you are dependent on him, and as long as you are not, they don't actually, even though they pray for you, they don't want you to completely come out of your problems, right? They want you to have a little bit of a problem or an addiction in your life or something, or some kind of depression, so that you'll continuously come back, right? To them for counseling and all of that, right? Because they have to fill up their day with appointments, right? But WOWLife Church is very different, guys, right? We are constantly, from the day we walk in here, you are told to look for the solution inside of you. You are the solution, and you work out the solution. And that was a significant paradigm shift for me. As I came in here, I knew that this is not a dependency culture that is being propagated here, where you're constantly needed to be controlled. In fact, the more you can go out there and work things out for yourself, the better it is for you. And I started realizing, as I started praying to the Lord for a lot of issues in my life, I realized that the Lord would say, hey, you got the solution, don't come to me. You have the word in you, work it out. Because we are so good at outsourcing. And Kirby's named me as the #1 outsourcer, right? Like I don't bother to watch, like learn the tablets or whatever. I don't bother to look at all the mystical stuff. I'll just go and say, Kirby, so tell me, how does this happen? How does that happen? And he'll say, Philip, I'm not going to tell you, because you just want to come and get everything quickly, and then you're not, because moment food is mentioned, your mind is somewhere else. And last time he told me that about 2 weeks ago. He said, it's a dangerous thing to talk to Philip about anything serious, because moment food is brought, his mind is on the food, right? Okay. So, guys, I just want to show you that this is a massive difference, and the sooner, it's a powerful, powerful place to be, to understand that. That's why it's awesome, the word that comes into you. It's, honestly, guys, I'm one of the last to keep going back home and read. Naomi is awesome. She's sweet. She writes everything and reads, and I'm sure she studies it or whatever. I barely don't know whether things go into my head. And and thankfully, Kirby never asks us anymore. Those days, he would ask us questions, right, about what it was. He doesn't ask us questions anymore. So, like new level of grace. They know, Ro and all know. We used to have to sit in my sitting room. We'd all be around, and then there'll be questions. And I used to quickly go and run and sit next to Naomi, and I tell Naja and say, hey, you better help me now. Well, he asked the question, right? And so we've evolved in grace, and we've come to this place. But so it's very important, guys, that what I'm going to talk to you today is so much not about outsourcing and going and saying, please, God, help me, or whatever, right? It's about something awesome, about something that's inside of you, and that is so core about every teaching here at WOW, right? So I've been going through a season in my life, where I like to, maybe because I'm also single, so I don't have to be waking the kids up at 6:30 to go for school and doing the washing and doing the whatever and shopping and all of that, right? I have a lot of time to do this kind of stuff, to pause in life, right? And step back and stop and think, hey, what's happening? What's all of this about? Where am I going? What's all of this, even the church stuff? What is it, right? And why are we going like this? And so I've taken what I call an audit, right? And I like to take an audit sometimes because it's good to recalibrate. I don't want to come. Honestly, if I have to come here every Tuesday, every Sunday and just do a rhythmic church, and lift my hands up and tear a little bit and love a little bit and hug a little bit and go home, come on. And I know for sure God has something bigger than that for me, right? And I'm talking about myself. I'm not saying anything about you guys or what's happening. I'm questioning myself all the time. Trust me. I'd love to say, I love this verse. This is actually, Anvita, okay, I pulled a little prank on Anvita. So Anvita, you don't have to read out the verses. I asked her, what school did you go to? And I said, first of all, can you read English or something? And I said, what school do you go to? And she said, Bishop's College. I said, I would have preferred ladies' college, but it's okay, So, you don't have to read it. I mean, the last earlier prank I pulled on her was also really nasty, She asked me what I wanted read at the offering time. And I said, can you get these verses from the Bhagavad Gita for me? and she actually got it and forwarded it to me for my approval. She's so sweet. I love you, Anvita. Wherever you are. Yeah, right? Come on, let's give her a hand, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's go to 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9, because this is really just the motto. This is my life, right? If I can have that up, this epitomizes my life, right? And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Right? Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, and all of that. Right? I don't want to read some of those more difficult ones because I don't take pleasure in those. To be honest, I can take pleasure in a few of the infirmities, but thank you, Jesus. That's enough, right? No, I mean, I'm honest, right? I like selective nice parts of the Bible which are more comfortable, right? But really, honestly, guys, this is my life. And I want you to understand when I stand up here, really, when I'm alone in my room, right? I can't fake anybody. I can't pretend to be somebody else, right? I honestly have only to boast of my infirmities. And that's the truth. Because I know that everything else that you guys see outside, all the glitter and the glamour and the fluff and the pluff and whatever, right? All that is just simply because I realized this long time ago, right? As a youngster and a pastor's kid and a youth leader and a leader in a Pentecostal church, I strived and I strived and I strived and I tried and tried and tried and tried. And I knew, everybody thought I was making the mark. I knew I wasn't making the mark where they were concerned. I knew that. I knew I was failing badly, right? I was this loved Philip, right? But I knew I was failing badly, right? But the day I knew this verse, right, my life changed. Everything changed. All I had, and then I thought, what the heck? Who are we trying to impress? Who am I really trying? Really, guys, come on. Okay, let's say we all believe I am pressing for 150. But do I want to waste the next 100 years of my life trying to impress somebody? Or being something that I am not? Or being whatever? Yes, I can't share with you all what my infirmities are, right? Because that might even cause a church split, right? Okay, right? But I know, and I don't think it's anybody's business to know what my infirmities are, right? Let me handle my infirmities. You kind of focus on your infirmities, right? But the main thing is to get real and understand that in this is what God is calling you to be, right? And that's why it's time for you to say enough, right? And say, I want to pause in my tracks. And I want to do an audit of everything I do. What do I do? What do I live for? What am I even? And I say this with a lot of love and care, but even if you're serving in a ministry, or even if you're preaching, or you're worship leading, or whatever it may be, it's good to stop, pull back and say, hey, why am I doing this? And what it is, right? Because you can be that little Philip who from 9 years old was patted and pushed and pampered and whatever to become the preacher boy, right? And at 13, I left the church saying I'll never go back to a single church. It took me like a good 20, 30 years for me to really come back to a church, right? And you can be feeling, because it's natural that when you walk into a place and you see gifted people, and I love the commitment that our guys have. And I know that you guys are honestly committed. So I'm not questioning anybody's commitment. I know you guys are fully sold out and committed. But I think we need to check those little corners of our hearts. Those little crevices of our hearts, of certain little things that we do. Because guys, life happens, right? You get busy, things happen, there are events, kids are born, kids go to school, they graduate, you put them into the best school, you're in the mom's group, you're in the dad's group, gossiping away, and then you're in, sorry, just joking, right? And then you are in, your kids get married, and you have a wedding, and even that whole routine of every day. You wake up, you send kids to school, you cook lunch, you do this, you do that, you do that, you do that, and days come, and months come, and years come, and you go on. Right? And, a good question, I was just thinking the other day, how many of you have even discussed Pastor Neil and Auntie Savi in the last week? Yeah, a couple of people, right? But if you were to really think, what do you remember about them? Their work and their service and their commitment. Nothing else. Anyway, they were fully committed people. They didn't have all the luxuries and whatever, right? And really, at the end of the day, all that we are striving to do and all that we are striving to accumulate and everything that we are trying to collect, right? What are we trying to do this for, right? And really started opening myself to understand. And so I started asking the Lord about purpose, because there's one thing I can say to you is that and guys, okay, I'm going to interrupt the sermon here and ask you for a little request. I shared with you preacher's nervousness, right? Or a preacher's sometimes a lack of confidence. Now, the least I want you all to do is at least to pretend to look interested, right? Okay? Because that's important, right? And I am the biggest culprit of checking my phone during a sermon. So all the things that I'm finding fault with, I'm the biggest culprit. I come the latest, right, into this place. I am the one who's looking at my phone because I have, of course, friends who are sending me pictures of chocolates, sending me jokes about other people. There's another friend who's missing who's sending other jokes, right? But really, guys, it makes a huge difference, and I realize, and definitely I don't want to fake by saying I'm looking at my Bible on the phone. I'm not, right? But if you guys can really give me your attention, at least look at me, right? That's going to really help me to preach, right? So please do that, guys, right? Will you do that? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Right. So guys, this is a whole cycle of life, and whether you're spiritual, not spiritual, whatever, we are all caught up in this cycle, right? And I've been asking myself lately when I'm thinking, is there another way? Is there something very different about what is God's purpose? That's all. I firmly believe that we have to follow the same, Drew and Tash can't suddenly decide we want to change this whole cycle and not send Remy Fifi to school the next day. They would love that, but they can't do that, right? So we have to do certain things. But why we do it, how we do it, and what is our core foundation of who we are when we do it? Am I wanting to buy that next car because of what? Do I want another additional holiday home because of what? Those are the questions that we ask, which the world doesn't ask. Because honestly, guys, because I have these really sweet 4 young boys who work for me, and I know the amount of pressure they have because of social media. Like today, this young boy who works, today is his girlfriend's birthday. And he is taking I love doing this for them because they are like my kids, but he's taking my Mercedes to the Marine Drive. So the girlfriend now it's not only wedding pre-shoots, they have birthday pre-shoot, right? So now for crying out loud, this whole wedding pre-shoot thing, my cook had 2 weeks ago, my cook had a morning pre-shoot, afternoon pre-shoot, and an evening one. Right? Now he's doing one for his girlfriend. But I was thinking, and he introduced me to her, and I knew her kind of job. But the pressure that is coming upon on this whole cycle of being something and doing something, and we can get sucked into that. And I am also, I've discovered Instagram, so I'm also putting myself working out and all of that, right? And so sometimes to question myself, I had to ask myself, why am I putting certain things? And why am I putting certain stuff? It's not because there's anything wrong. Social media is an awesome thing that we can use. But is there another way, is there another foundation that I'm supposed to be laid on that I conduct my life in, right? It's awesome to see none of you looking at your phone, right? That's awesome, right? So let's just, so I've been asking, so one of the key things is purpose, right? We all talk about purpose. And in the good old church, purpose meant you give up your money, you give up your job, you come and preach, you become a full-time worker, you have to get involved, you have to be an usherer, or you got to bake cookies and sell or something, right? That's like your purpose. Right? And you become one of those on that whole ladder, and you somehow are made to feel so guilty if you go and do anything else, pleasurable, or you acquire something, right? But it got me thinking, and there's this awesome guy called, some of you would have read Rick Warren, right? And he talks about something, the book is kind of religious, but there are some parts of it, and I remember one thing he spoke about, and that was so awesome in this whole purpose-driven life thing. And for me as a youngster, when I was evolving and coming to know my purpose, this was so key in understanding grace and all of that over my life. So let's just go to Revelation 4, verse 11. Right? I'm going to just read it so to make it faster. Right? It says, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory, honor, and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created." And when I read this, and we've read this, I've sung this as a chorus, right? Thou art worthy, all of that, right? And it struck me that my purpose is not to be a preacher. My purpose is not to be an evangelist. Those are all callings. Those are all mantles. But my purpose, core purpose of God placing me on this earth was to be for His good pleasure. How incredible is that? And you're put under pressure to make you feel so guilty that your purpose on earth is to, and by all means, I love feeding the orphans. So don't get me wrong. I love giving the word to people out in rural areas. But my purpose, essentially and in everything, is to be loved by God. Now, how incredible. There's nothing else. It's complete. And when we talk about unconditional love, we don't understand it because we say unconditional love and then we are striving and striving and striving and striving and trying and trying and trying and trying. But if you can, like I did several times in the last week, pause and sit and say, let everything else be quiet. Doesn't matter whether what happens or not, whether I meet my deadlines or not, whether the business deal comes through or not, whether things are successful or not, whether my problems get solved or not. I'm going to meditate for a moment. I'm going to catch my breath for a moment and remember that I was created for this one purpose, that God could love Philip. That's all. That he could continuously pour his goodness upon me. That's all, guys. And from there, yes, my goodness, there is no other way. Guys, I mean, I've been having this long debate with Kirby and Fiona about worship, and some of these worship music and songs have such profound things. Lord, I'll give my whole life to you. Lord, I'll lay my life down. And I told Kirby and Fiona, I really don't think I can do that. I stand there and I don't say those words because to me, it's almost Philip in the natural can't do that. I mean, you guys may be, but for me, it's a damn lie. Right? And as I started meditating on this, I started realizing that the only way that I can tell God that I love him so much and that I'm crazy about him and all of that is first to know that he loved me. Right? And to be stable and to be secure in that one place where I leave everything else aside. And I'm so glad in this house, I can come to a place of confidence that I really don't care what anybody else thinks about me, right? Not in a bad way. I love all of you, but I can come here and be very conscious of how my spirituality is judged, or there's a barometer. You guys won't, but there may be people coming from other churches here who can judge me on my spirituality, right? And people listening to me out there. And I had to break that, and for a good while, I would stand here and be almost like looking at the worship screen, that is trying to evolve my emotions inside, right? Until I struck this, and from there, it just burst forth. It came to a point where somebody had noticed, or one or two people had noticed and actually commented that I don't seem to be worshiping anymore. And that was true, right? And Ezra stopped focusing the camera on me, right? I'm just joking, right? But guys, you cannot tell this God that you love him. No way. At least I can't. Let me rephrase that. The only way is for you to pull back, stop, think, and say, Lord, I really just want, what is it like to be loved by the God of all the earth? And we love, I work with a lot of high profile, high net worth people, right? And I see the way their kids are pampered. And I see the way, it's awesome sometimes. I have young clients who are multi-billionaires and they're building their beach houses, which are like massive places. And the parents are there on the site in the hot sun to be there with their children, to go through this building process. And sometimes I can look at them and I can covet that. And I can envy that. Little realizing, man, you're in a way better, way bigger place than that. It's so easy, guys. When you see all these people who are, their parents and their fathers and their mothers are pampering and loving them, and they've got all the vehicles and they've got and even though God has blessed me with all of that, I can still covet that model, right? Until you realize the enormity of what God has told you. I put you on this earth to love you. And to be way bigger than you looking at those guys and coveting their lifestyle, coveting the love, coveting the pampering, covering the abundance upon their lives. It's so easy, guys, that unconsciousness, we can just get so carried away without realizing that because really, I don't blame people because they've been so forced into a model of purpose means doing something all the time. Without understanding that purpose means sit back, chill out, love, think, visualize, meditate, whatever it may be, for a moment, and understand and trust me, your life is going to change. That's the only place, the most safest place, the most secure place, the most amazing place of peace. You will suddenly realize in that 30 minutes or 1 second or 10 seconds or 2 minutes, you will suddenly realize a certain calmness that comes over you. There's a quietness that will come over you and a quiet calmness that will come over you because when you've left all your problems aside, all your needs aside, everything that needs to get sorted, and you understand that because to God, that's all that matters because He knows once you realize that from that place, and you will preach, you will evangelize, you will heal, you will go there to the destitute, you will go to the rural areas, right? You'll do all of that, but you'll do that with such a steadfast fire. It will not be works to either be loyal to somebody or to impress somebody or to do whatever. You will do it with such a fire that whatever that comes to scandalize your relationship with anybody can never get to you because you're so secure. You know, I want to give a testimony and show you this ring, right? This is a ring. It's Fiona actually looked this up online. It's a very rare ring. Apparently, this is like, it may not be, this may be just a copy, but it's supposed to be about $1.5 million worth. I didn't buy this, right? I happened to go to my room one day, and I have a couple of rings laid out there. And I suddenly saw this. And I thought, what the heck is this? And I thought, okay, first of all, it looked a little bit evil because it looked like a serpent or a dragon or something. But I thought I'm going to wear it because that evening I was meeting Kirby and Fiona. And I wore this and I went. And as I showed this to Fiona and Kirby, they both got excited. And then Kirby at once said, Philip, that looks like a Leviathan, right? And this was about 4 or 5 months ago, right? And then Kirby declared and he said, every scandal, everything that comes to cause offense and whatever is going to be wrapped around your finger, right? And true to his word, I was facing such massive challenges. And every time I faced a challenge, I would put this ring on. Right? From nowhere, guys, this ring appeared. Right? Now, this is the place that you worship and you work in, right? And where was I going with this? I was just trying to tell you, what was I trying to tell you? I don't know how it came in, but it came in, right? But I wanted you to understand, but forget about it. Anyway, I had to say it, so it came, right? But I want to go to Psalm 149, right? Okay, sadly I have to wear my specs, so I'm trying to look cool without them, but I need to wear them. No. Okay. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek. Thank you. I hope you are under 30, whoever whistled. Before I look. Okay. And rich. Okay. Just joking. Yeah. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Right? So this is awesome. In Hosea says, for I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. That's phenomenal. I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings, right? And, you know, I can just go on with all the other stuff that I've written here, but I just want to probably stop at this, right? And I just want to lay this with you guys, right? To understand, and from this place, you know, you guys are called, yes, we have, you know, we are called WOWLife. WOW Church is called for such a time as this, for this generation, and all of that will flow. We are called, but it's time, guys, to pull back and maybe get secured back again to understanding who we are. And from that place, you will be empowered. From that place, you'll be raised up. From that place, your solutions will come. Trust me, it's going to be such a place of ease. That's the rest that God is calling you for not doing any work. To work hard while knowing, right? While knowing, like I looked at my billionaire kids, right? Greater than that, knowing from that place, here is a God who had no other conditions, who chose, when it says, God so loved the world, it didn't say God wanted to make slaves of all the Christians. It didn't say God wanted, for you to sweat and toil and whatever. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Nothing else. Read it over and over again, whatever translation. That's all the reason, only reason why he gave his only begotten son. Not to save you from hell. Yes, all of that will happen, right? Not for you to come up and say a sinner's prayer, but God so loved the world. Right? That's all. He just loved you, that he gave his only begotten son, so that by knowing the sacrifice, by knowing the grace and the mercy, that nothing, that's what's phenomenal. I mean, if this is the greatest achievement of my life, I'm telling you honestly, and capture this on camera, because this is very important. The greatest achievement of my life is to stand and not be bothered about a single thing about what anybody will say. Yeah? That's the greatest achievement that WOWLife Church has given me. Nothing else. All the millions, all the cars, all the houses, all of that. Honestly, really, how much can you enjoy those? But to know, to be brought to a place of confidence in your love with God, that I don't have to toil one day more. I don't have to impress one day more. I don't have to even give one day more. Right? And to know that that is the confidence that this word and this place has given. And that is my prayer when I share the word with everybody. And that from that place, abundance will flow. From that place, you will prosper. From that place, you will be at peace. From that place, you will be at rest. And everything else will be so much more easy. Everything else will work, guys, right? So I just want to close with that, guys. I think we have a prayer team, right? That's been lined up, right? Who's on the roster? So we are going to worship with one song, right? And we're going to finish with that, and then come up for prayer. Yes, it's good, but come up for prayer to agree with the person who's praying with you. Don't come up for prayer because, I need help. I need help. I need help. Come with a confidence and come and tell the person, I want to agree with you that this situation in my life is going to change. I want to agree with you because that is God's good plan for you. That is God's love for you. That is where you are. That is God's purpose. God's purpose is for you to be loved so you'll be wealthy. God's purpose is for you to be loved so that you'll be healed. God's purpose is for you to feel loved so that you will feel free. Right? That is God's purpose. Very simple, guys. And from that, yes, my goodness, let's go and do 10 ministries, 20 ministries, go out to 40 countries. Let's do all of that. Because trust me, when you work from that place, there will be no fatigue. There will be no discouragement. There will be no offense. That's what I was going to tell you about the ring. When you work from that place of being loved, offense, Leviathan, will be just wrapped around your finger. None of those things will come to discourage you. Once you're secure in that place, WOWLife Church is about to explode. Right? But we want to explode firmly with a bunch of people who know how secure they are and how loved they are. Right? And that we can and from that place, guys, because, one of the most difficult things is to be a giver in a ministry, right? And you can do a lot of giving because you want to. Somehow, that's honest. Honestly, I asked myself, why do I have to go and hand my seed over to Kirby, right? Now, I want him to pray over it, but that also nicely think, yeah, Kirby, I'm giving you so much. So that nice feeling in your heart. And these are the insecurities that I need to still shed. Right? I need to be, why can't I put my seed in an anonymous package and put it into the seed, this thing? Why do I still have to go to Kirby? And these are some of the insecurities that I am now dropping and falling off me in knowing how loved I am. Right? And when I know how loved I am, I can see my relationship with Kirby and Fiona is becoming more beautiful. There's less room for bits of manipulation here and there. There's less room for offense when I'm secure. You being secure in the love of God on your life is not ever going to diminish any of your other relationships. It's only going to make your marriage more awesome. It's only going to make your relationship with your kids more awesome. It will only enrich every single relationship in your life. This is the key, guys. It might sound very simplistic. It might sound very basic, right? But sometimes it's good to get the basics tweaked up and in line. It's good to pause, take that audit, and ask yourself. Okay, so bless you guys. Love you. It's been awesome to preach to you guys.